Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Big B.
Good morning, good evening to everyone who's watching this interview. I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Gramey Browne. Always a pleasure to see you, aka Big C.
Yep.
You know, aka Calvin. So many hats, so many names. But today he actually made me put on my interview hat. You know, we're gonna chit chat like we always do, but now on camera.
Yep.
You know, most of the times we hang out, and I know you for so many years, and you haven't changed.
No.
You've always been giving good advice, and now you decided now to jump in the author's arena. You know, you're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, you're a chef, you're an author. You do it all, man.
Yeah,
so
man.
proud of you.
Yeah.
So how you doing?
I'm fine, I'm doing good. I'm just relaxed, I'm ready for this interview. It's been a long time coming. Now we're finally here.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, got 5 books.
5 books in the space of how long?
In a year and 2 months. But 4 of them was published in 1 year.
It's like you found a secret that nobody found. Everybody's taking years to write one book.
Yeah.
In a short space of time, you have 4 books out already.
You know, the first one is actually the hardest, but once you get it out of the way. So once I got the editor and I got the publisher, everything else was easy. Because now that I'm retired, I have the time to actually write.
Right.
And so with that, once I'm done, like now I'm finishing up my 6th book.
Wow, imagine that.
This one is not a literal information, so I don't really always count it. But I was told it's a book that I created, so I need to count it, right?
Right.
So I'm finishing up my 6th book now, and I'm gonna have that done definitely by the 15th of this month. I got about another 10 pages to go. But that book won't get released until July.
Okay.
Because I gotta go through editing, which is 4 to 5 weeks, depending, how long the editing takes, what they send back to me.
Right.
I got some things, I gotta go over it, and then it's based on their schedule.
Right.
So, but at least I have that person.
Excellent.
When I wrote the first book, I didn't have that person.
Correct. Now that
And they will have to
everything
find
in
it,
place,
But once you get everything in place,
you just spit them out.
And I'm also self-published.
That's what I was just going to ask you. You publish now.
Yeah.
Are you going to publish for other people in the future?
I'm not there yet, but I could guide people. I could point them in the right direction. I've already done that. I point them in the right direction. There's a couple of people that ask me to write for them. That I'm still taking into consideration.
Okay.
I can help someone who want to write a book about themselves.
Right.
Because I already did that.
Right.
And I know how to do it, and this book will be their guide.
Okay.
In terms of making novels, that's not a thing. I'm not there yet.
Right. Now, so the last book you've written, that's what we're going to speak about. Dating advice.
That's the one before the last.
One before?
Yeah.
Yes, that is true.
The latest book is sales.
That's correct. But today we're going to focus on dating advice to my daughter.
Yes.
Because they are so special to us.
Yes, exactly.
Dear to our hearts. You have a daughter, right? Yes, I have a daughter as well. Yes. So we know that feel and being prepared for their life, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about it. The first question, of course, is why that name, dating advice to my daughter?
Well, me and my daughter talk about that a lot. And in the book, I actually write a lot of the conversations that I had with her and what I was saying to her. And so, when you write a book, first I play around with a bunch of names. It was just dating advice blanket. But then it's like, who is me to give dating advice? But I can give dating advice to my daughter.
Correct.
I'm the best guy to do that.
Of course.
And so that's the name that ended up sticking. Then it was dating advice to my daughter, dating advice to a daughter. Every man gonna have slightly different variation.
Absolutely.
The principal advice will be mostly the same, But it was easy to conclude dating advice to my daughter because she's my daughter.
Correct.
And I have the right to do that.
Absolutely. And it's needed.
Of course.
We see in society today, modern society, a lot of daughters going astray.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't have that fatherly figure, that male figure, to talk to them. And right now they're getting it from a man's perspective.
Right.
Which they need to, because many ladies speak amongst themselves.
Yes.
And they only get it from...
That's what I say in the book. Most women get advice about men from other females.
Right.
Which you're basically getting advice based on the experiences that those females had.
Correct.
But if you get the advice from the man himself about pretty much who men are, now I'm not saying I speak for all men,
Of course not. Of course
but
not.
our similarities on the principal things are pretty much
The same or
in
close
sync.
enough.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, so let's start with since we're dating. Is there an age bracket for your daughter to start dating? What do you think most parents should consider?
So I would say by the time you start entering high school, because there was the teenage crush, right?
Correct.
And that going on. It's good that girls have these ideas and these emotions, because we're human beings, we're emotional creatures. And women are more so emotional than we are.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But boys and girls need to interact with each other. The first chapter of the book, it talks about the age gap.
Very important.
Relationship.
Touch on that a
And
bit.
boys and girls have to interact with each other because the boy you know today is going to be in your dating pool as a man 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And understanding who he is as a
Boy.
growing into a
Man.
into the man he's going to become is vital for you to really, when you see that and the emotion get into play, you're not like, this boy crazy, this guy is weird.
Right.
No, you watch him, that's who he is.
Yes.
And you understand this is the phases that men go through.
Yes. In a modern day society, you touched on the age gap related.
Yeah.
Touch a bit on that. Is it more acceptable for a female to have a younger companion or a male companion to have an older?
So, in the old days, men dated women that was like 20 years younger than them.
Younger than that.
Right? And parents would actually have their daughters available for these older men. And the reason for that was the older man would have built himself and had resources and could give their daughters a better life outlook. It's also, many women died in childbirth.
Okay.
And so therefore, younger women had an increasing chance to survive childbirth versus an older woman.
Right.
So women were making the babies like 16, 17, 18.
Wow.
Versus now they're waiting until the age of 30.
Yes. Yes.
And so those are a combination of the age gap relationship. Nowadays, it's weird because plenty of women expect men to be at a certain, be the same place that they are at their age.
Okay.
So now you find a 30-year, as I say in the book, women mature faster than
men.
3 to 5 years. In reality now, if I were to write the book now, I would say 5 to 7 because of what's happening right now and what you see. But most of the time, where a woman is in her 30s is not where a man is
in his 30s.
But women still want the man that she's dating at the time at her age to be equal to her or higher. And unless you get that man coming out of college, it's most likely not going to happen. And either you have to wait with him while you're with him for him to build, or you risk once he's built trying to get him. Because when he's built, the same woman he wanted before he was built is not the same woman he wants after he's built.
Right.
And they need to understand this is the man's thinking.
Yes.
It's like when you can afford a Toyota Corolla, it's the hottest shit. But when you make enough money to get a BMW, a Toyota Corolla ain't even your weekday car. You know what I mean? This is just how guys are.
Yes. Very important. Yes, to the daughters and the ladies out there, let's talk a bit about modest apparel. You touched a bit about that in your book as well. Most guys, are they interested in a girl that shows off her body, shows everything? Or do they want a woman more in modest dress? What are the qualities men are looking for?
So I say, for guys, there is the initial attraction is always physical, sexual, or emotional attraction, right? The physical attraction is how the woman looks. Right. The sexual attraction is what his version of hot and sexy is. And the intellectual attraction is because you have interaction with him, whether it's at a restaurant, a coffee shop, he came into an office building, and then he's like, wow, this girl sounds smart. She sounds, Now, if the guy sees you have basically, let's say, half dress, you're showing a lot.
Right.
If that's what he likes, then that's what he likes, right? But the men who like that and go for that is normally the men on the average or below average scale.
Okay.
If you're looking for an above average guy, you're least likely to attract him dressed a certain way.
Right.
Because the higher up a guy go, he's looking for a woman that he could take to a business meeting. He has some social economic standing. He's looking for someone that also reflects him.
Correct.
So
Agreed.
So that's up to the female, and depending on what they're looking for. If they're just looking for a man,
yes.
Well, it doesn't matter what you dress. You can find a man.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And if you're desperate, well, the least you have on is the quicker you can get some attention.
There you go.
But it's just a matter of the level of attention that you want.
That is true. And what issues do you see right now that let's say dating with this social media age?
Social media.
Is it harder compared to back then? Did they make it easier seeing all the technology we have right now? Or is it more difficult because it's not more face to face?
Yeah, there's kind of a combination. There's some nuance to it. For the people who date on social media, they'll have a different scenario than what I will give because I've never done it.
Correct, neither have I. But again, too, why? You remember, right now there's so many apps,
right.
So many dating sites.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous right now.
And so for me, I call it dating in the matrix.
Okay.
Right? Because that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And you don't, like these people talk online and they so-called see each other online. And when they meet for the first time, I say in the book, they think they know each other.
Yes.
You don't.
Yes.
Because when knowing someone, like you see my hand move, you see my eye move, you can read into that, you can see certain things. Dating online, you're just like, it's almost, for me, it's not real until after I met you in the real.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So any conversation we have on the phone or online, it's good and clean. Now, if we're doing business transaction, there's many business people that I talk to who I never met in person. But that's a purposeful dialogue that we're having, and we're doing a business transaction.
Correct.
Meeting someone to be able to say, I know them, I trust them, I'm comfortable with them, to have a personal relationship with them. Eventually, when we meet in person, when I meet you in person is when I'm actually meeting you. You know what I mean? Like, so that's not something that would work for me.
Yeah.
But there are some people it work for. When they complain about it, I have nothing. It's hard for me to empathize with them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like, we really, you're a grown ass man. Like, why are you doing?
Why you do? Yeah. Because they feel the dating pool has begun. It becomes so hard right now that they venture to do that.
Well, for some people, I say for some guys, they don't want the rejection. A rejection online is not the same as a rejection in person.
That's it right there.
And so many women take pride in rejecting you. I've heard women say, yeah, but if the guy don't come correct, I ask, what the hell is correct?
Yes.
Relationship, human communications are about one person say hi, the other one says hello, and a conversation comes up, right? And I had an interview with a young lady the other day, and I said, by the time a man come over and says hello to you, half of the work is already done. All you gotta do is say hello.
Correct. But they make it so difficult these days.
It's complicated. Like they will, and a guy can see this. You're 20 feet away walking up to a girl. She know you've been looking at her for the last 20 minutes before that. And she will just turn her back and just like zap you. And the guy just reaches like 10 feet away and turns away and walk.
Because right now it's all a game.
Yeah.
It's all a game. If they say if he really wants me, he'll come after me. Or if he really wants me, he'll take maybe 1, 2, 3 rejections and still come.
Well, that depends on the person. Because me, in my dating age, I took no as no.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like if you like, I never developed the skills in talking a girl into being with me because I wanted mutual interest. If you didn't like me or you didn't give me a sign when I came up and said hello, it was game over. I like I said, I didn't have the skills. I didn't make the effort either, and it was done. So you could be losing out on a really good guy just because you failed on approach.
Yes, you don't want to even give him a chance.
Yeah, because
give him a chance, get to know him.
Men judge the book by the cover. Literally.
Yes.
Okay, this is what we do.
Yes.
And until we pick up the book and look at the synopsis. This is us coming over to say hello. And when we have that short conversation with you, that's the synopsis we're reading.
Okay.
And if we like what we see in the synopsis, then we're ready to open the book. But most people will say it's what's on the inside.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to the synopsis. How do you think we're going to get to the inside? We don't pick up a book and just open it up.
Correct.
We pick up a book and we turn it around.
Yes.
This is just how the way it is. It's very simple and very practical.
But yet so many people find it very difficult.
It's them complicating a simple process.
Okay.
Again, human communication. Hi, hello, good morning.
So to the young ladies out there watching, listening right now, where would you recommend? Where can they find a nice guy? You know, in the dating field, dating world right now.
Well, we are product of our society, our surroundings. So if you live in Dutch Quarter, there'll always be a guy in Dutch Quarter to holler at you. If you live in Simpson Bay, there's a guy in Simpson Bay hollering at you. So it's a combination of where you place yourself, where you live, what your surroundings are. You may date somebody at work, and you may find someone in the club. You may also find someone in the church.
Yes.
So it depends on where you are, where you place yourself. Because men are visual, the men who have eye contact, who can see you, are the ones who's going to approach you.
Right.
So if you're constantly around the boys on the block, it's going to be the boys on the block who's going to be approaching.
Yes.
So someone say, only these little boys are the approach me. I said, but where are you?
Correct.
Where are they seeing you?
Listen to that, ladies. Yes. Very important. Yeah.
If you're looking for a guy who works out, you either got to go on the ball field, a guy in the gym, you got to hang out by the gym. You know, you got to hang out because guys in those areas are working out.
Great advice.
If you're looking for a Christian man, you might want to go to church, right?
Great advice.
And if you're looking for a man in the healthcare field, you want to be around hospital field, or or elderly care centers or whatever. So you need to meet the men that you want. You need to go where they are.
That's right.
Because men are visual, and when we see you. If the men see you, like a girl asked me, how do I know a guy is interested in me? I say, if he comes over and says hello.
I love that.
So where you are is the men in that environment who's going to come over and say hello. Especially if you look good. Because if you look good, the validation that you look as good as you possibly think you are is because other people are noticing it and they're coming over to say hello.
Great. Ladies, listen to that, ladies. Next question would be now. In the book, I know you mentioned it as well. I'm going to put it in this term. How long should a woman, a lady, a young girl wait before she give up the cookie? So before she has sex?
Now that question I get quite a lot too.
Yeah.
So in my book, I have 5 reasons to date, 5 purposes of date, right? You have to date with a purpose. If you're dating for intimacy, that goes fast. Because even nowadays, we're in a hookup culture. People are just hooking up on first date.
Yeah.
So if that's what you want to do, well, that's what you do.
Okay.
There is no rule as to when you give it up.
Okay.
But, there is a big but always, right?
Yes.
If you're not dating with a purpose, you fall under the purpose of the man.
Okay.
And 80% of men, when they ask you out for a date, this is how the whole thing started with my daughter and I. I said, if a guy asks you out for a date, he doesn't ask him to be your friend. Alright?
Yeah.
There's sexual attraction.
Yes.
He wants to have sex with you.
Yes.
You have to believe that. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen tonight, tomorrow, next week, a month from now. It's up to you. You are going to go out and that date with him because you're curious, or you're interested, or you feel the same. And if you do, then fine.
Yeah.
Because both of you are on the same page.
Yes, you agree.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when do you give it up? I said to a young lady the other day on camera, I actually have that. I said, intimacy, giving it up is your superpower. Because only you could do that.
Yes.
If a man tried to take it without your verbal, written, Facebook, Instagram, everything consent, he go to jail.
Yes.
Alright? Because he has absolutely no right. This is your sole discretion. So I have nowhere in my book that tell you when to. But what I can tell you is a man, most men are expecting it by date number 3. And I say, if you don't want to hold hands or even get a guy to kiss, by date number 3, don't go on date number 3.
Okay.
Because this is what men expect. The moment he asks you out, he already wanted it.
Yes.
Right?
He doesn't think about it already.
The moment you kiss him, he starts dreaming about it.
Rubbing his hand. What it tastes like.
Yeah, he dreaming about it already. He having wet dreams.
That's a man.
Yeah, exactly.
This is reality.
And
That's
so,
a man.
and so some women have like a 90-day rule, a 100-day rule. You can have whatever kind of rules you want. The moment you kiss that man, his days are counting. You know, the dreams are going. And
Yes.
will a man wait around for 90 days?
Depends.
Some men will.
Yep.
All right? Some men won't.
Correct.
So whatever you decide, the risk is he sticks around. The risk is he doesn't. There's a risk that after 90 days he gets it and he goes anyway.
Yep. All of it.
So life has no guarantees.
Correct.
So you got to make your best judgment.
Yes.
Be honest with yourself.
Yes.
Be honest with him.
Yes.
You know, whatever the purpose of you dating for, let him know up front. So even though he expects it in date number 3, you let him know in date number 1, partner, I got a 90-day rule.
Right.
Or you gotta be my husband first.
Yes.
Because I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get married and then give it up. Let him know.
Let him know.
That way you don't have a date number 2. And that way you also don't wait 90 days, fall in love, only to find out that's what you wanted anyway.
Yes.
Because some guys, they invested so much time.
Of course.
They're just gonna play it out.
Yeah.
They wait a year now. Like, shit, I got 6 months in already.
It's a game.
Yeah. And they will wait that year, and then you're still back to square one. You never know.
Yeah.
So be honest with yourself. Be honest with the guy. Because if a guy here 90 days and he don't want 90 days, you ain't getting date number 2. And now it's over.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to play a game and wait 90 days in to where you really got feelings for this guy now.
Yeah.
He done meet your parents, you guys went Anguilla,
Yeah.
you know.
So you're saying literally date with a purpose.
Date with a purpose, because without the purpose, without you having a purpose, by default you're in his purpose.
Yeah.
And his purpose, believe it or not, and I'm not saying no man want to wait or no man going to rush, because there is those instances. But when you look at the rule of 80-20, 80% of men, that's what they want.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean they want that only.
Yeah.
But that's the initial interaction.
Correct. So women have to know their value.
Yes.
Know their worth.
You gotta know your worth, know your value, know why you are dating. And when you give it up, again, it's your discretion. You can't just take it. You know. But the higher the game that you're playing is the higher risk.
Correct.
That you lose this man or you just get played too.
Yes, very important. Yeah. Ladies, be aware. Let's talk about a little more intimate. Let's talk about body count.
Body count.
Do men think that's important? Do men care about your body count as a woman, as a young lady?
I would say it's a tricky thing. The men that do, I would say, are more men with a higher social economic standing, because they're worried that when they walk around with you holding hand, being all proud, there's 4 or 5 guys who they know done hit that already.
Yes, and before you continue, let the viewers who don't know, what is body count? What is
body count? Is a female or if a person, basically male or female, that has a lot of sexual partners.
Okay.
Right? No, a man doesn't really pay that price for having a lot of sexual partners. Societal norm. Plus, it seems he's more experienced. He knows more of what to do. He's probably better at it, and he could give you a better experience than a guy who doesn't. Right? But for a female, it means the same thing too. But society frowns on it.
Right.
And again, men of higher value don't, for the most part, because I know this girl, she was a porn star, she had a husband.
Wow.
And a top guy too.
It happens.
You know what I mean? So it does happen, but it's not the norm.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So the flip side of that is, unless the woman tell you what the count is, you don't really know. You know what I mean? So if that is a basis for you, it's kind of delusional. Because
you don't really ever know.
You can't ever know. She can give you any number.
I can remember in school days, they would tell you, listen, whatever she says, double it. You understand? Whatever she says, double that.
So if she said 2 is 4, if she said 8 is 16.
Correct. Yeah.
But if you really want her, it really doesn't matter either. Because if you meet a woman that got maybe 2 kids by 2 different guys, or maybe 3 kids, 3 different guys, she tell you, well, I want to be with 3 guys. because there's proof that she been in at least 3 guys. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it could have been 20.
Yeah.
So if that matters to you, then those men will go for more younger women or maybe a divorcee who got married young. Is a lot of combination of things. For me, I would say I've been with a combination of both. Most of my serious girlfriends were 1 or 2.
Okay.
But I've been with women who had, let's say, more than fingers and toes. But at the time, it was a learning experience for me because I was actually learning things because these were an experience.
Right.
And I say in the book, some guys, you know, you would go with a girl, and the girl is doing things to you that was never done to you before, right? And then you're like, boy, she learned this somewhere. You know, and then some guys would be like, wow, do it again. You know what I mean? So it depends on the guy, you know.
For sure. Okay, since you touched on women with children, with kids, let's jump into the stepdad thing. You know, is it difficult for females out there who have 1, 2 kids already, and they still want to be in the dating field, still trying to find that father figure for their children, still thinking about getting married? You know.
Yeah. It is possible because it does happen. Again, it depends on the person, the 2 people into it. Right? The relationship with 2 people requires both people to agree. Some women, because I know this girl actually that got 3 kids, and she's married to a guy who got 2 of his own. So that's 5 kids within that family. Of course, now a couple of her kids kind of grown, they can start with the house, whatever. So it depends on the family. I grew up with a stepdad. My mom had 3 kids. My stepdad had 6 from previous marriage. They got together and had 2 more. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he was a great stepdad.
Yeah.
I was a stepdad myself before I had a child of my own.
Okay.
And it was great. But I've heard horror stories.
Yeah, it depends.
So I had a guy who I met recently. He told me he will never date a woman with a child again. Okay. He dated a woman, she had a 2-year-old, they were together for 3 years, and the child bonded with him. He was the dad. Child called him
that's very young.
daddy. Yeah. But when they broke up, for him, he lost his child. Yeah. He lost the woman and the child. You know, I've heard guys say if they be a stepdad, they have to adopt the children. Okay. Because they want to have legal claim. Okay. Because otherwise, the woman go.
Yeah, they want to legally adopt the child.
Exactly. Okay. Otherwise, they're not interested. Okay. But it also means the father has to be out of play.
Exactly.
Because
the father has to allow that.
Allow it if the child has the father's name. Yeah. Right? So if the father already acknowledged that child, you can't get past him. But the downside to it, I said in the book, a stepfather is also a thankless job. Most stepfathers don't get a thank you. You know what I mean? It's taken for granted. Yeah. And so some men are reluctant to do that for some of those reasons.
But I think most men too are very reluctant to, because they don't want to hear that term later on. You ain't my dad.
Exactly. I would say it's a thankless job.
The child that hurts a lot of guys.
If it hurts,
what?
Listen, man. I went through when I was like 27. I think I was a stepfather by default. I met the lady. I knew she had a son, but he was back in their home country. Country. Right. By leaving the guy, both she and the father was here. And the child was staying with his mom. Okay. When she got with me, this man literally sent for his child, brought him to the island, and dropped him off at my house. Wow. And that's how I became a stepdad. Just like that. Okay. From one day to the other, surprise.
You take care of the child.
Yeah, exactly. And then he came every week to see the child.
Really?
And you want to take him and would take him to play with him or bond with him, whatever. You know. But every time the child came back with a different type of attitude.
Oh my.
And twice he said, you know, once I took him to the movies, and you know, him and his school friends were playing around, and school friends say, your dad, stop making noise, your dad gonna get upset. He's like, that's not my dad.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
It kind of touched me, you know what I mean?
It must.
And I'm like, it is true,
but come on.
But at the same time, you know, that was not a necessary thing to say. But he's a child. He was like 5 years old. You know, he spoke the truth, which small kids always do.
Of course.
But then he said that when I was disciplining him, not if I hit them on the thing, I was like, hey, stop doing that.
Yeah.
What did you hear?
Yeah.
He's like, you can't tell me anything,
Wow.
you're not my father.
Yeah, wow.
And then I had to go, because now you're doing that in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And you're literally telling it to me directly.
Yes.
And I flipped.
Yes.
So I took him by his hand and I walked him onto the curb.
Yes.
And I said, okay, you can't live in my house.
Yeah. Wow.
You can't live in my house, I'm not your father.
Yeah.
You figure it out.
Yeah.
And I left him out. It was about maybe 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And that's the issue we have here too with most single moms with their kids not allowing the stepdad to discipline the child either.
Yeah, that becomes
That's
a
a big problem.
problematic thing. Because a man, not only is he taking care of another man's child, right? He's not going to get thank you for it, but he's taking care now. Instead of taking care of himself, he's taking care of 3 people,
Right.
2 others. And someone who got 2, 3 kids, you look at it, if the man is capable of taking care of this family, right? He's also capable of just going to get a woman that doesn't have children.
He has his options.
Exactly.
Yes.
And not have to deal with all of this. And so when you have a kid out of wedlock and you don't have a husband, you don't have, you're not even having a kid in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
And now you want a stepdad, and then they hold the stepdad at a higher standard than they held their baby daddy.
You see that? Wow. Ladies.
Guys start asking now, what's in it for me?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. What am I? Who am
What
I?
do I get out of it?
Yes.
Because literally, we don't get anything out of it. Because we don't even get a real thank you from everyone involved, right? And so that stand I took, it was the last time I had to do that.
Yeah.
Because he realized, listen, I had a house with a swimming pool, he had his own room, his own bathroom, he had his own toys, come on.
Yeah.
And his dad comes in once a week and takes him away.
He's a
and comes back
superhero.
with attitude and he's a superhero. So I have to show him, you're gonna have to go live with your father.
Yeah.
You can't live with me.
You see that?
But it's also the mom's responsibility
That's what we're talking about.
to keep that child in check. It's a child.
That's right.
I don't have to check that child. I could remove him from my environment because that environment belongs to me. And this is what stepdads have to go through.
Yeah.
So before they have to come to this moment, because it's not fair to tell the mom, listen, I want you, but those children can't come here.
You're preaching the gospel, bro.
But
That's
it's also his right to do so,
Yeah.
and just leave her alone.
Yeah.
And many women with kids really have that, but they're blaming us. But you can't blame us. And then you still have that, what I call a toxic man, because men are toxic to some extent. You take his child, you're raising his child in your home.
Yeah.
It's validation, especially if you're doing a good job. You're taking the child, because I used to take him to soccer practice, go to the movies, we go have ice cream, Other people in society, especially if they know both of you, they start telling the guy, yeah, I saw your son, he was with his stepfather, and they were having ice cream. It's validation that he is not a good father. And that plays in a man's mind.
Yes.
So
Yes.
once the dad is in play, stepfathers are reluctant to step in place. If the dad has died, he's incarcerated. Even a divorcee have a better chance than just a baby mom, which is a woman got a child out of wedlock. To just get a stepdad, because once the dad is not, let's say the dad is from Anguilla here over there, and she lives here with the kids, he's not going to cross paths with that dad on a daily basis.
Right.
So he's not going to get, because what the dad will do, he'll come by every week. So now you got to see this man twice a week, when he picks him up, when he drops him off. And then you got to deal with all of that. Most people don't want to deal with that. And believe it or not, after my incident, all of that just tapered down to where the kid didn't even want to go with his dad anymore. Because what did his dad actually do? You know what I mean? His dad took him to work with him. He's still in the job, and he worked at a hotel, so he's swimming in the hotel pool. But he had a pool at home. A pool he could bring his friends to. He can't bring his friends to the hotel pool. You know what I mean? And so as the kid grew old, the kids I guess started realizing, and I don't know how much more talking the mom had to do. A lot of it just changed. And then when his dad wanted to come, he's like, no, I got friends over here.
Great points. Great points. Instant marketing as well. I mean, all over the world. You see a lot of people, we call it here shacking up. So the ladies try to avoid this. What what's a committed relationship? If you know.
So a lot of people here on St. Martin, especially, and most of the Caribbean islands, they get mixed up with the exclusive relationship to a committed relationship.
Okay.
And a lot of them have these exclusive relationships for years. And they think it's a commitment.
Okay. They think it's a commitment.
Because
it's exclusive.
Exclusive. Okay. It's not a commitment. Exclusive basically means you and him going to deal with each other sexually with intimacy and everything exclusively. Right?
Gotcha.
But a committed relationship, you're basically sharing the same roof.
Okay.
A committed relationship leads to marriage should you want it. Otherwise, you're just boyfriend and girlfriend. You can't say, damn it, woman. Damn it, man. He lives in an apartment and you live in yours. There's not a lot of real benefits to that. Well, I would say positive benefits for the future together if that's what you want. So that contributes to a lot of people wanting happiness over everything, you know, the whole phase. And then men got the poor phase now, that's a new thing. So each side had their whole phase, happiness over everything, and now the guys are calling theirs a poor phase, peace over everything.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so now you have your peace, but you're wasting time because you're paying all your expenses on this side, she's paying all her expenses on that side. If you guys come together, there's a lot of financial benefits from that relationship you're having. And by having this exclusive poor phase and whole phase, you're really just shacking up. And when you break up, you're gonna swap keys and it's over.
Like you said, shit hit the fan.
Yeah, exactly. You know. Now when you have a committed relationship, now when you break up, it's a process. You don't just break up on the fly. You don't send her a text and say, I done. Or you don't ghost or block her, or she blocks you, ghosts you. You know what I mean? And so I think it's a waste of time. I wouldn't do this exclusivity for more than a year. Okay. Because I would know enough about you that I either want you in my house or I don't want you at all.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't waste my
time. You
time.
say after a year?
That a year would be long. A year would be long. Because if I'm that into you, I want you under my roof. You know. You belong to me now. You're mine. You know. But this playing house on weekends and going on vacation and it's just I think personally it's a waste.
It's a waste of time.
Not something I would recommend past a year.
Awesome. Let's talk about the leadership of a man in a household. You know, you said in your book, a man wants to lead, provide, and protect. I think most men, they just naturally, that's instinct.
That's the way we're raised, that's what we see in society. And of course, we've always had a man's world, right? And can every man lead, provide, protect? No. Do most men aspire to do that? Absolutely, right? because based on those qualities and the level you are in those qualities will determine the type of women you're going to get. Women, for the most part, don't want to date down. They're dating up. So the higher up you go, the better your options are going to be. And men really get the women they can afford, because if they can't afford her, you know, they're least likely to have her, because that's from her end. It's not what she wants. Women want a man that's equal to them or higher. They're not really going low. Do some women go low? Of course they do. But for the most part, they don't. And so the man has to come with those three things.
Those qualities.
Leader, provider, protector. Those are the top three things a woman look for in a man.
But if a man is in a household now and he's not able to do those three. So the woman is a provider.
A woman can be a provider because then they're building together. So when it comes to providing, I talk about different providers. There's contributors, there's below average contributor, there's average contributor. So a below average contributor is a guy who can contribute 45%, 40% of household expenses. But it just means the woman has a much better job. And he could help her with her career. He could actually be the one cooking. He do the laundry. He take the kid to after school. So she's free to pursue a career.
Okay.
Because they're a family.
Right.
Right?
We're saying that's okay.
And that's fine.
Right.
Right. Because that's a contribution too. It's a big contribution. Because if the roles were reversed, and he had his career too, now you gotta hire someone to do that, or you're gonna neglect your child. So those values, maybe he's a handyman, he can fix everything around the house. That money you're saving from having to pay a handyman to come in to fix stuff.
That's correct.
So you gotta find the value in a man is not just economic, right?
That's what they need to understand.
Yeah. Men bring great value in other things that they do. So that you could pursue your career, you could go back to school, you could have this demanding job. Because if you don't have the support at home for a demanding job, you're better off being single. Because then when you leave work and you go home, now you got to deal with a man. If this man has a career too, he's coming home with the same stress that you have. How does that work? You know what I mean? And that's where plenty of things go wrong. And that's why most men, when they're high level, they're just their housewives. Because they want to come home to someone who's calm, collective, not having a bad day like them, a stressful day like them. So those nuances is something to take into consideration.
Right, absolutely. Good. Excellent advice. Leaves me wish to say now, the independent woman out there, the modern day women who making all the money, I got my good job, why do I need a man? You know?
Well,
and what can a man do for me?
Yeah.
So kind of things.
What I said in one interview, men are not just a debit card. So when you don't need the man to pay for anything, you don't need the man, right? We're also, we're not a debit card with a penis on the other end. We're more than that. Because we're talking human connection, human collaboration. No matter how far you go, if you had another person with you, you could go even further.
Makes sense.
Because there is strength in numbers. Right? And two people produces more than one. That's just the way it works. I'm a guy, I never wanted to be alone. When I was younger, I would use a new relationship together with an old one. Because this whole thing of being single, that's just stupid to me. I want somebody there all the time, you know what I mean? But females who do that, they really still want a man. They just want one that's equal or higher. And when they can't get that, the default position is I don't need a man. Right? And so, yes, you're not, the higher up you go, the least likely for you to get a provider male. Because provider male, they'll be like, why do I need this expensive ass woman when I could just get a regular girl who I can afford? Because believe it or not, even though she's making great income, let's say it's a math, she's making about 50 grand a year, all right? That's a lot of money here on this island. Because the average salary is about 18 to 25. But do you really think the man making that kind of money is looking for a woman making that same thing? It's not the way men work. Because he can't wow you, especially when you're already making it. See, if we met in college, we came into the workplace and we both started to rise, that's one thing. But when you're already there, and I just got there, I don't want you. You done did all the things that I know can afford to do.
So would you say, for the sake of happiness and finding that wonderful family, women should be able to humble themselves, even though they have this, they have that, they have everything already?
Yeah, well, either you get your partner, if you know you have the props, like you're going to college and when you come back, you're going to have it going on, or you got family, you're going to get your government job, or you're going to get whatever. Try to get your partner before you get too high.
Okay.
Because
let's make that clear. That's a statement right there.
You got to try to get your partner mostly before you get into your 30s. Right? Because female, they climb the social economic ladder faster than men before. We really start to get into the family mindset in our 30s, and by our 40s, we can actually afford a family, right? So we're going to be late either way. But once we get there, at 35, we're kind of almost equal. You see men really start to apply themselves more, right? But when a woman is 35 and a guy is 30, she's still way above him, you know? But by the time he gets to 40, she kind of cap out at about 30, 35. There's not a lot more promotions, you know what I mean? Because men have to compete with other men to move up. Women are competing with other women to move up, you know what I mean? And once we get that high, And you know, I gotta say, sweetie, let's go to Miami. You've been there 5 times already because you've been on that level 5 years before me.
Yeah.
So most of the things I want to do that I'll be doing for the first time, you done been there, done that.
Yeah.
There's no excitement for me because I'm thinking who you did there, been there, done that with.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is the way guys think. You have to understand that. I didn't say it's fair. I didn't say it's nice. That's the way we think. All right. And so if you have that person, now you guys have some growth together where you experience a lot of things together.
Yeah.
But once you have all of that, you look around the world. You look at J-Lo, the Nicki Minaj, they don't have their equals. Why? They're in the industry where they're meeting top men just like them.
Yes.
Why can't they marry one of them?
Yeah.
Because it's just not the way men work.
Yeah. You have it, I have it, then what? I can't wow you, you can't wow me.
Yeah.
We start the knick-knack of the little thing.
You look at even Rihanna. She was with Chris Browne. That was a disaster. Yeah. Then she was with another guy. She was even with a billionaire. That still didn't work.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, they start the knick-knack of the little things.
And men, the higher up men go, the more simpler they want their women. And women need to understand this. This power couple thing is something made up.
It's real.
That's more of a female wants some power couple. That's not what men are looking for. Okay. That thing doesn't, power couple, really? What the hell is that? Okay. You know, that's not a thing for a man.
Okay.
She's my wife.
Yeah.
She's the mother of my children.
Yes, I want to lead, provide, and protect.
Exactly.
She needs to do her part.
Yeah, exactly. And even if she has a career, I still lead, provide, and protect.
Yes.
High value men are paying 80% or more of the household expenses. They're not doing 50-50 because even no matter how far the female go, she still wants a man to pay at least half. Yeah. And not even that. She really wants him at 60%. Right? But why does a man have to struggle to pay your 60% when he could just find a regular girl and pay her 100%? And it's cheaper than your 60%. Right. See what I'm saying? Yeah. This is the way the man thinks. Yeah. Call it shallow, call it cheap, call it whatever you want. We don't care. That's just who we are.
Reality. Yes, our nature.
Yeah, that's just who we are.
Wow. It's amazing. Great stuff. So for the ladies out there, I hope you're listening very keenly.
Yeah.
You know, this is a male's perspective about this dating world that we're living in. We're not saying it's easy. No, but you need to you use your wisdom out there. So now for the ladies now, you said try to get that person when you're 30, 35. What happened if they're over 35? They're independent, a great government job, maybe they have a kid.
So if by 35 years old you start running into geriatric pregnancy. So the reason I said before then, I'm assuming you don't have a child.
Okay.
All right. So if you want to have a family, you really want to start doing it in your early 30s, at least by your early 30s, because you got to find a guy. I say the average guy will get married between 3 to 5 years. Right. So if you meet a guy at 30, on the long end, based on the average. He will marry you by 35. You start having kids then, you're done into geriatric pregnancy. Okay. So you want to start, if you find him at 25, now you most likely get married at 30. And now you still got another 5 years before you become high risk. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So you gotta, and then you find a lot of one-child who are women between the age of 38 and 42 who basically, they ran out of time. Wow. And so they will meet a familiar guy, but that's more into the single parent by choice. Okay. Right? Okay. But most of those women are educated, college educated, high earning women who literally don't even need a man to pay child support. Actually, most of the time the father doesn't even know he had a child. Because they just got pregnant, used him as a sperm donor, and just went about and take care of the child. They could afford to do it. They could afford to do it. Yeah. That's hard. And so as we come into this new world now where women are earning much more than before, they're going to college in much higher numbers than before. In some areas, they're superseding the males. Yes. Yes. But that's the problem they get now.
Yeah.
Because now they're still looking for a man equal when most of the men are not their social economic equal. And now they figure, well, I can't date a man below me. I can't be date a man who don't make as much as me. Well, good luck then.
Good luck.
I can't help you.
Ladies, good luck. You hear that? Wow. Let's quickly turn to the audience of the younger generation, younger females. I think it's time that we stress about protection.
Oh yeah.
Protection.
Unwanted pregnancy, unplanned pregnancy.
Yeah. I hate to hear the term, if it happened, it happened.
Yeah.
If it had to happen, it happened.
Yeah.
Why can't you protect yourself?
This is, it's totally avoidable now. There is no excuse for it. Right? So I personally believe children should be planned. I was an unplanned child.
Okay.
And therefore I only met my father when I was 27 years for the first time.
Okay.
And it wasn't the best experience, which I detail in this book. So I'm against unplanned pregnancy, period. Oopsies happen.
Yes.
Oopsies should happen in a committed. Oopsies happen.
Yes.
But they should happen in committed relationships. They shouldn't be happening to teenagers.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Because you are planning that sex. It's not like you guys were there and then he started to touch you and one thing happened. No, you guys planned it because you don't have the time to be around each other. You're not sleeping with each other. So oopsies belongs to people in committed relationship. Everyone else, it should be planned. It's a conscious decision. Women are smart enough to know use condom. Men are smart enough to know to use a condom. It's a completely avoidable situation. Because those situations is what now produce this new set of young people that we have in fatherless homes.
Yes,
and it produces more single parent.
Yeah. Making society even harder.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like you said before in our conversation, that the young men that we have today, the boys, those are the men we're gonna have.
Those are gonna be the men. Boys become men.
That's what it is.
As a society, if we can do a better job with our boys, well, what kind of men do you think we're gonna have?
Yeah.
Because it's those boys that's gonna become the men. And that's gonna be your dating pool. And so fathers with daughters, because plenty of people tell me, you gotta write a book, dating advice to my
would you consider that though?
Son.
So even if you don't have,
I don't have a son.
You have nephews.
Actually only one.
It's okay.
Because all of them are nieces. It's just a bunch of females in the family.
I got you, but would you consider
I could
because you have the knowledge, regardless.
Yeah.
You have the knowledge.
Well, you see too, if you're giving dating advice to the daughters, because what I say to these men is I'm giving my daughter advice to make sure she don't date those sons.
I got you.
Now, those sons are going to find somebody to date.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be my daughter.
I got you.
So you need to talk to your daughter to make sure your daughter don't date those sons.
I got you.
And that's the default.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in essence, this book also talks to son.
Yes.
Because we're telling you what a man is telling his daughter
Yes.
a man is supposed to be.
Yes.
So either you become it or become somewhere close to it, or you could become whatever version you want, but there's certain girls, certain women you're not going to get because your daddies had good sit-down conversation with them, or those girls read my book.
Yeah. Do you think you get a wider range of women who are leaning towards buying the book than men?
No, there's more women buying the book, yeah.
Right.
And because most of the time when I get stopped, it's mostly buying women. Even older women are saying, boy, I wish I had that information when they were younger. Because it would have get them away from so many mistakes. Because they never understood what is men's normal, natural behavior. They think because a man will sleep with them mean he will love them.
Right.
Men don't think like that.
Right.
Women think like that.
Yeah.
You think...
So women gotta stop thinking that men think like them.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
You can only think for yourself.
Yeah.
We're a whole different species almost.
Why does it feel, I know for me, and maybe most men, that a woman wants you to read their mind?
Yeah,
I'm supposed to know what you were thinking.
I've been married with my wife for 28 years.
Yeah.
We were married this year, gonna make it 24.
Congrats.
She still think I can read her mind. I can't. Because she never taught me how to.
Right.
So until you teach me, I don't know. So you're gonna have to tell me the words
Tell me.
so that I can understand. You know what I mean? Like I said, I tell her, I want to be able to understand the woman.
And don't you find men are very specific?
Of course.
Don't say you told me. No, you told me this.
Yeah, exactly.
That.
But you're supposed to know what I mean. No, I don't know what you mean.
Correct.
If I ask you it's a famous thing. My wife from home says, so how was your day? The same thing. What does that mean? The same thing. The same like yesterday, the same like 2 weeks ago, the same like a month ago. I don't know what I mean. So I was like, but no, I meant today. But I tell you it's the same thing. So I stopped. No, I actually stopped asking.
Wow.
Because I want to know how your day was today. But that question makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
Yeah.
Some days I have something to complain about. Right. Some days I don't.
Yeah.
If you tell me it was the same,
then every day is the same.
For me, it's not logically the same.
It can't be.
There's got to be some nuance in between.
Yeah.
But I take it, okay, you don't want me to ask the question.
Right.
So I asking the question.
Right.
And then she will say, yeah, but you don't even talk to me. I come home, you just say hi.
Very good point. How important now is communication?
Oh, no, there is communication, and
that.
then there is open communication. Not many households allow for open communication.
Okay.
In open communication, both people express their views. Not only one side express a view, or my view supersedes yours. Right? Because we all have opinions.
Right. Nobody knows it all.
Exactly.
Right.
And my opinion of me, your opinion of me is not going to supersede my opinion of me, right? Whatever you think of me is what you think of me. And practically, it's actually none of my business. It's your thoughts. I can't control them. But when you tell me something, you need to allow me to respond to you as to what I think.
Okay.
So when you give me your opinion, you also got to listen to mine. Otherwise, you're not talking with me, you're just talking to me.
Correct.
Or you're talking at me. And most of that, men block it out. Many men just take a walk, go watch TV, jump on the bicycle or whatever, take a ride. We just leave you alone. And women don't, but every time I talk to him, he walk away from me. Because you're not talking with us. You're talking at us.
Okay.
You're becoming mommy.
Okay. Doesn't want that.
We don't want that. We want mommy for our children. We don't want our mommy. When we want our mommy, we go by our mommy and we see her. Hey mom, what's going on? And then we listen to her like that.
There you go.
We don't want that from our wives.
Ladies, I hear you, bro.
Yeah, and this is what women need to understand the man is. We're walking away from you because you're sounding like our mothers. It's not what we want.
Right.
If we wanted that, we would have still lived at home. We wouldn't create a home and go through all this expense and all this nonsense just to hear the same thing. We could have done it cheaper. No kids, no one to take care of. We didn't even need to build or buy a house. We could have still we grew up for free. Or just pay GB and be done with it. So you gotta take that into consideration. Have open communication. You have to listen to the things you don't like to hear.
Okay.
Because the other side, bro, that's what they're saying.
That's a big point right there. Listen to the things that you don't want to hear.
I was taught, and I have it in this book, understanding another person's point of view is vital to learning. How do you learn things about me if you don't listen to what I have to say? Because then you're telling me I should be a version of myself that you approve of, like, want, appreciate. Well, didn't you check those qualities before we got together?
Right.
And if it wasn't so, what do you think? You were going to change me? Really? And this notion of people changing people,
that's one thing too. They always want to change them.
And I said the other day, and a woman gets a man she hopes to change. A man finds a woman he hopes doesn't change. So this is the nuance between us. When we find you, we literally want you the way you was. And we hope you don't change. But at the same time, you look at us and you're thinking,
I'll change it.
I can change it. That's we gonna start there, but give me
a year with him. Wow.
It doesn't work.
Wow.
It doesn't. And the higher up you go with the guy, is the least likely it's gonna work. Because now this guy already have a proven record of what works for him. Now you're trying to change him. I said to you, when you get with someone, it's not half of you and half of him making a whole. It's the whole of you and the whole of him. You're getting a whole other person. So you think of all of the stuff you have in your head. That other person got the same bunch of bullshit that is in his head too, except with the opposite. You just have to come together and work together, have open communication, and you have to agree on the things that is going to be part of your family. Because you don't have to agree on everything.
Correct.
And you're also not going to agree on anything.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
There's a lot of things you're not going to agree on.
Yes.
And unless one of those things are your deal breakers,
Yes.
the relationship is going to go on.
Awesome.
Okay? And so you just need to value what is worth fighting over, and is the relationship value worth fighting for?
Right. Since you touched on the 80-20. You're mentioning that a lot, most
yes.
people don't know.
And I have
What do you mean by the 80-20 rule?
So the 80-20 rule, which is something I learned as a teenager, in life, business, and relationship, nobody gets 100% of what they want, right? And sometimes 20% of the things we have bring us more value and more fulfillment. For some businesses, 20% of the customers bring in more than 80% of the income.
Okay.
And sometimes it's in reverse.
Yeah.
Realistically, a person, for me then, when I was taught, achieve 80%. Because 80% is high.
Yeah.
It's high.
Yes.
Most people is in the 60% range. Some even 50. Right? But if you achieve 80%, and you be content with that. So the people who have the billionaire mindset, they're really shooting for the 100. And if you look at how many billionaires there are to how many regular folks, you realize it's the percentage is very small, right? But if you have 80% in shooting for the 100%, you're doing it at the risk of the 80% you already have. And most people who do that, they end up losing it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, now he went for power. I guess maybe that's his extra 20%. You see what a loss he have?
Yeah.
It's a big loss. I don't know if it's worth it to him.
Wow.
It wouldn't have been worth it to me.
Right.
Because I got that kind of money, I want nothing to do with politicians, period.
Yeah, tell that.
Even actually, I wouldn't even have that much, because at some point I'll be like, I'm retired. I mean, I don't have that close, I'm retired. But that's the billionaire mindset. Those are the people where 80% is not enough. For me, my 80% is enough. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it in business, relationship, and life in the same way. I'm content with that.
Yeah.
I always say I leave the other 20% so the universe could redistribute it amongst others.
Okay.
You know?
Fair enough. Fair enough, bro. Makes a lot of sense. Great advice, ladies. Great advice. I think we touched on a lot of
Is
stuff.
there other things? Okay, I don't know what time we have, if it's an hour past already, but we can wrap it up. Folks, if you want to get more of this content, subscribe, and as we push them out, you'll be notified. Click the notification bell and get more of this information. Ciao.
Excellent
Peace
job.
out.